Welcome to Cyber Bites, your weekly dose of cybersecurity news. I'm your host, Edwin Kwan, and today we've got a packed episode with some juicy stories from the world of digital security. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Sarah. Hey Sarah, ready to dive into this week's cyber chaos?
Hey there, absolutely, I'm all set. Let's get this cyber party started.
Alright, let's kick things off with a story that's been making waves in the tech world. The US government is considering a ban on TP-Link routers due to national security concerns. Sarah, what can you tell us about this?
Well, it's quite a big deal actually. So, the US government is investigating TP-Link, which is a major manufacturer of home routers. They're worried about potential cybersecurity risks and, the possibility of backdoors that could be exploited by Chinese intelligence.
That's right. It is not just idle speculation. A significant portion of a large botnet used by Chinese threat actors consists of TP-Link routers. These compromised devices are being used to launch attacks against US networks.
Oh wow, that's pretty serious. And, I heard that these routers have been found on some government networks too, right?
Exactly, Sarah. The investigation revealed that TP-Link routers are present on the networks of several government agencies, including the Defense Department, NASA, and the DEA. This has raised some serious red flags.
I can imagine. So, what's the government doing about it?
Well, the Department of Justice, Commerce, and Defense are all involved in the investigation. They've already issued a subpoena to TP-Link, and they're considering a potential ban on the sale of TP-Link routers in the US.
That would be a big move. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this plays out.
Indeed we were. Now, let's move on to our next story. It seems that cybercriminals are getting creative with their phishing tactics. Sarah, can you tell our listeners about the latest scam involving Google Calendar?
Oh, absolutely. So, get this. There's a new phishing campaign that's using Google Calendar to bypass spam filters. It's pretty clever, actually. The attackers are sending malicious meeting invites through Google Calendar.
That's right. And these aren't your run-of-the-mill calendar invites. They contain links that redirect users to Google Forms or Google Drawing pages, which then prompt users to click on another link, often disguised as a reCAPTCHA or support button.
And let me guess, clicking that final link is where the real trouble begins?
You've got it, Sarah. That click can lead to malware downloads or redirect users to phishing websites. The really sneaky part is that by using Google Calendar, these attacks can bypass spam filters. The calendar invites appear legitimate with authentic headers that pass security checks.
Wow, that's, pretty devious. So, what can people do to protect themselves?
Great question. First and foremost, be wary of unexpected calendar invites, especially from unknown senders. Never click on links within calendar invites unless you're absolutely certain of the sender's legitimacy. And for the IT folks out there, make sure to enable Google Workspace protections to block unwanted calendar invites.
Got it? Stay vigilant, even with trusted platforms like Google Calendar?
Exactly. Now let's shift gears to a story that's particularly relevant for our developer listeners. There's been a wave of malicious Visual Studio Code extensions discovered recently. Sarah, what's the scoop?
Oh boy, this one's a doozy. So cybersecurity researchers have found a bunch of malicious VSCode extensions on the marketplace. These extensions were disguised as legitimate tools for cryptocurrency development and productivity.
And what are these malicious extensions doing?
Well, they contained code that would download and execute PowerShell payloads. The main goal seems to be stealing sensitive information, including credentials, from compromised systems.
This is a classic example of a supply chain attack, where malicious code is introduced into legitimate software development tools and libraries. It's a growing threat in the cybersecurity landscape.
Absolutely. And it's not just VS Code extensions. There have also been malicious NPM packages discovered with similar tactics.
That's right. These attacks are targeting developers on multiple fronts. The malicious NPM packages were using typo squatting techniques, creating packages with names very similar to legitimate ones.
So, what can developers do to protect themselves?
First, always thoroughly vet any extensions or packages before installing them. Check the source and reputation of the developer. Conduct regular security audits of your development environments and keep all your software updated with the latest security patches.
That makes sense. It's all about staying vigilant and maintaining good security practices.
Absolutely. Now, let's move on to our final story for the day, which touches on a topic that's been getting a lot of attention lately: large language models, or LLMs. Sarah, what have researchers discovered about the potential misuse of these AI models?
Well, it's pretty concerning. Researchers from Palo Alto Networks have warned that large language models can be used by hackers to generate undetectable malware variants.
While LLMs have limitations in creating malware from scratch, they can be incredibly effective at rewriting and obfuscating existing malware, making it much harder for detection systems to identify.
Oh, wow. That sounds, pretty scary. How exactly does this work?
Well, hackers can use LLMs to create more natural-looking transformations of malicious code. By repeatedly applying these transformations, they can degrade the performance of malware classification systems, causing them to misclassify malicious code as benign.
I see. So it's like they're using AI to outsmart other AI systems?
Exactly. It's a cat and mouse game, but with increasingly sophisticated tools on both sides, researchers have even demonstrated the generation of 10,000 undetectable JavaScript variants using LLMs.
That's, a lot of variants. Is there any good news in all of this?
Security researchers are working on countermeasures. They're proposing the use of similar techniques to generate training data that can improve the robustness of machine learning models against LLM obfuscated malware. It's an ongoing battle, but the cybersecurity community is rising to the challenge.
Well, that's somewhat reassuring. It's good to know there are smart people working on these problems.
Absolutely. And that wraps up our stories for this week's episode of Cyber Bytes. Remember, in the ever-evolving world of cybersecurity, staying informed is your best defense. Until next time, stay safe and stay cyber aware.